have WhatsApp.
Right.
I think that the thing on Slack was that maybe we were trying to save a little money and somebody came out and wanted to know if people in CapMac were using Slack. And of course, I answered in the positive, and there were a bunch of others that did too. But I'm curious about these conference calls. I didn't know that. What was the one you mentioned? Slack. You could hold a conference there like you can on Zoom. Is that true?
I think that it is true because I think the owners of the business that I work for, who are scattered around the country, um, have uh, conference calls between themselves with some frequency. And my assumption is that they're using Slack. I could be wrong, but that's the assumption that I have.
Well, we all know that Zoom, a free account with Zoom, you can get 40 minutes at a time
Hmm.
with a 10-minute break and then another 40 minutes and on back and forth and back and forth. Google Meet um, will allow you to have a 1 hour straight, but that's it for the day for that account owner. So unless several people had accounts, you'd be switching from, one person to another. Or what we do is we do a Zoom, and when we get shut off, we go over to Google Meet, set a clock for 10 minutes, get done with Google, go back to Zoom and light it up again. You can get as much as 3.5 hours out of them that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work.
It isn't, you just put the icon on your desktop and click it, go.
All right. Well, if unless anybody has another question, I think we want to get our the meeting started here.
Okay. Uh, I have a couple of announcements for CapMac.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Okay. Let's see. The first thing is John Perg or Tom Weaver actually wants to know if anybody in CapMac did not receive their holiday gifts. They had some difficulty with the post office, and Tom is trying to make sure that everybody got their USB adapters. And let's see, I think the other thing is that I got a letter the other day, or email the other day, from a gentleman who has some old Macintosh software from the late '80s, early '90s, it looks like, and wants to know if anybody has any desire to collect that or whatever. If they do, send me an email at capmac.org and I'll put you all in touch. I think that's about all I have.
Okay, Ron, you want to make any announcements for GAMUG?
No, I think we're okay.
All right. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. This this meeting tonight was sort of a lot of different little pieces put together to make a meeting. And then when Jim Wynn contacted me to see if CapMac could join in, I said, yeah, that's great, because especially in something for you guys to think about as our program rolls along here. Later in the program, the one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to start talking about third-party Mac OS utilities. And I've got a little presentation where I'm going to just kind of go through some that I use and I find very useful. And my hope is that you all will have some that you can share with the group as well. And by the time we leave the meeting tonight, I'm hoping that people will have a whole bunch of utilities that they might be able to look to if they're looking for stuff, because there are a ton of third-party stuff out there. So if you've got stuff on, and this is for Mac only that we're looking at, if you've got some of those. Just kind of be thinking about that for later in our meeting when we come back to that, because after I share mine, I would love for you all to join in and share what you have. But to start tonight, I am going to start us off with my goodies. So let me find that. All right. Can you all see this?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
All right. I don't know why. Hold on a second. I'm getting some weird Zoom alert there. Sorry. I had to read this alert box that was popping up on my screen. I don't know. Maybe the Chinese were trying to take over my computer or something. All right. So, Glenn's goodies for March of 25. So the first thing I have, I thought this was just kind of an interesting little thing. There is an Apple hearing study that the whole country gets louder on Super Bowl Sunday. And I thought this was kind of a little interesting study that I came across. And this was done by the University of Michigan. And it said that noise on Super Bowl Sunday increases almost everywhere across the United States. And I'm like, well, it makes sense to me, I guess. But and give me 1 second here. Well, hold on. Did I something messed up on my screen?
Watching on home.
Hold on, I've got to stop my share here. I apologize, and I have to redo this. Something went all wonky on me there. So it's anyway, as you guys can read here, drawing from more than 115,000 Apple Watch users through their noise app, they discovered that there's a substantial elevated noise levels during the game, even if you're just watching that from your home. And it says that the noise exposure increased by 1.5 to 3 decibels compared to a typical Sunday. So, I don't know what percentage of those 115,000 Apple watchers were watching with, like, at a party or just, watching by themselves and maybe just had the TV cranked up. But I don't know. I just thought it was kind of a little interesting study that I came across. And by the way, they track noise patterns. This was done from 2021 through 2024. And it typically began 3 hours before kickoff and lasted for about 3 hours after the final whistle. And
That's a long time. Yeah.
their noteworthy little thing here is not a surprise to me. States hosting the Super Bowl or with participating teams showed markedly higher noise levels, likely due to larger gathering sizes and more energetic celebrations. So that would,
Not to mention alcohol.
yeah, I'm sure that plays a role as well. All right. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Apple Invites app. This came out now, I guess about a month ago. And the little thing when it came out, the quotes here, it says, Apple today introduced Apple Invites, a new app for iPhone that helps users create custom invitations to gather friends and family for any occasion. With Apple Invites, users can create and easily share invitations, RSVP, contribute to shared albums, and engage with Apple Music playlists. And I don't know how many of you have tried it. I downloaded it, played around with it a little bit, just experimented. And so I've got a little video just to show you all how this works.
Apple just released a new app. It's called Apple Invites. It's for iPhone and it's accessible via iCloud.com, where you can create events, invite guests, even invite them to contribute to shared photo albums. And it'll be a great way to organize birthday parties, big game watch parties. It can provide directions and even weather, but it's not completely free. So here's everything you need to know about Apple Invites. The app is free to download. I'll put the link in the video description. It is iPhone only. There's no iPad version right now. To download the app, you do need iOS 18 or later on an iPhone. When you first open it, you'll see these splash screens talking about receiving an invitation or creating an event, then this welcome screen, and you can create your first. Now, I've already created a sample one here, but let's start from scratch. Tapping the plus button in the top right corner, you can add a background image, title, and more information for your event. When you tap Add Background, there's a bunch of pre-made images, photographic, emoji style. You can also upload your own photo, or if you have Apple Intelligence on your iPhone, you can use Image Playgrounds to generate an image from scratch. I'll just tap mountains here, and then we can add a phrase. I added the word teaching because we're learning a new app, and I'll tap done, and it will use that image for the event invite. Let's title the event. You can choose from a couple different font styles. Then we can add a date and time, choose an all day. You can include an end time for the event. The time picker is actually in 15-minute increments, which is nice. It won't let you schedule an event for the past. You have to choose something in the future. Tap done. Then you can also add a description to this event and choose who's hosting it. It'll automatically add your name, but if it's someone else, you can type that here. I'll add a description. Then you also have the option to create a photo album, and everyone that's invited to the event and accepts, they'll be allowed to contribute to that shared album. It'll automatically use the event title for the album name. I'll hit done. Then you'll actually see photos from everyone here in the event. You can also add an Apple Music playlist, and people can contribute that way. I'll create a new playlist here. When we're done, we can preview the event, and this is what guests will see when they receive it, whether they're going, not going, or maybe, the host and description, any shared photos, and music. We'll tap next, and then you can share this in multiple ways. You can just paste the link somewhere, email it, message it. You can also choose whether or not you need to approve guests or if they'll be able to join automatically. Let's turn that on for now. You can choose from your contacts or tap new guest and type an email from someone not in your contacts. I'll tap a name here. You can choose how you want them to receive it. Then in the top right, you'll see the settings icon, and there's a number of options you can change here. You can choose additional guests, so everyone who accepts the invite can do a +1 all the way up to a +5. I'll do a +1. You can remove the background image preview if you don't care for that. You can also duplicate the event if this is something you do regularly, pause replies, cancel, or delete. Let's tap done and see what it looks like to accept this invite. All right, here on the recipient's phone, here's what the invite looks like in the text message using that background image. And when they tap it, if they have the Apple Invites app installed, it'll take them there. Otherwise, they'll be prompted to download it. Here, let's open this invitation. We can get notified about changes to the event, and let's tap that we're going. Because I had that additional guest option, they can choose whether or not they're adding a guest. They can also send a message when they send the reply. Let's say we're going, and you'll see on my device, I got the notification that they responded and they have a +1. If I tap in, now there's also a QR code that people can scan and get information about the event. Then I can see the guest list and also allow someone else to invite others to the event. Then you see I got the notification here that I can now add or remove guests, and jumping in I can click the 3 dots and then share the event from this guest device. You can also add events to your calendar if you would like to do that. Now if I scroll down, you'll see the link to the playlist, and here's the playlist with some songs I added. Now it'll play a preview, but if someone's not subscribed to Apple Music, they won't be able to actually listen to the playlist. They do need their own Apple Music subscription. Now because the event has started, it hit 11:30, it says the event is happening now. And now as a guest, I can also add photos to that shared photo album. I can also add a comment as I post the photo, but I'll hit post. And now that I added the photo as a guest, when I jump back to that event here, I'll see that photo synced to this shared album. That shared album is also in the Photos app. Now I created another event that's in the future here. I call it the Winter Concert, and I can go back in and edit this event. And let me add something like a location. I can tap location, I can search for a place. I can also name it so it shows differently in the app. I'll tap done, and now it also loads the weather once I added that location. Let me share this invite via AirDrop. I'll tap share link. Then if I accept the invite, I'll tap open invitation. Now this one is actually going to send a request because I said I have to approve guests. I get the notification now on my host device, and you'll see there's one access request. I can tap that. I'll see the request here at the bottom, and then if I approve the guest, they'll get a notification on their phone that they've been accepted. Then I can say I'm going to this event. I'll send my reply, and I can also scroll down, see the weather forecast for that day and the location, and when I tap that, I can get directions to the location of the event automatically. Now you might be wondering what happens if you send an invite to an Android device. They get to see that nice image preview, but when they tap the link, and they can actually join the event if they put their email here. I'll put my email, podcast@primarytech.fm. That's my tech podcast with Jason Aten, by the way. New episodes every Thursday. You can subscribe above, or the links are down in the description. I got sent a verification code, and you'll see the request was still sent. Back on my host device, I got a notification that there's been a change, and I can get that request from the email address right here. I can approve them. Then I can also view the information for that guest, and that guest will actually get an email once they've been approved. They can open the invitation, and they can load that event in their web browser. Now, if you choose to send a note for the event, and that person has the Apple Invites app, guests with an iPhone and the app installed, they'll actually get a notification with that note right there. And for those without an iPhone or the app, they'll get an email. Unfortunately, they have to load it in a web browser for them to actually see it. You can also manage your events and invite others on iCloud.com. You'll see it here as an app on your iCloud homepage, and I can manage my events, create a new event. You can also choose whether you get email notifications for events you're hosting and ones you're invited to. I can manage the guests, notes, I can add it to my calendar here, and choose whether people can bring those plus ones or twos. Now, it's unclear the maximum amount of guests you can have in an event like this, so let's test it out. I put a link to this event, a Shortcuts live stream. I am actually going to do this. I'll live stream on the YouTube channel. We'll add the link to this event later this week, but you'll find this down in the video description. It's public. Go ahead and join it, and let's see how many guests we can get and if we can crash the Apple invites. Now, here's the one major caveat. The app is free. Those responding can do it via web or in the app for free. They don't need an iCloud Plus subscription or Apple account. But if you want to be able to create events in Apple Invites, you do need an iCloud Plus subscription. Overall, though, this is pretty cool. And given that it will work across devices, so you can invite your Android friends, people can respond via email, pretty sweet. So let's test it out. Join my Shortcuts live stream this Thursday. That event invite is down in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that like button.
Okay, I never did go back and see how many people he got when I downloaded the video, but I thought he did a nice job of really going through what the app does. Before I knew that CapMac was going to join us, I was going to set up an Apple invite and invite the GAMUG people and just see what I got back on that. But I decided not to do that. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting new app from Apple, and haven't tried it yet, but I definitely, instead of doing like an Evite thing or something like that, I'm looking forward to using that at some point.
Hey, Glenn.
Yeah.
I'm kind of confused about what Apple Plus is. I mean, I've got things I'm paying for every month, and I guess Apple Plus kind of consolidates some of them, but I don't have any interest in some of the things. So, I mean, how much does it cost to have an Apple Plus, and what does it get you?
Well, there are different levels, and you get access to the Apple services, some of their services and apps, and it's also additional iCloud storage.
Well, I've got the additional storage, and I'm paying every month, but it seems like Apple Plus is some other thing. And maybe I'm just confused.
Well, you would get with that, like I have the premium plan, premium family plan, because I need all that storage. So I had to go to the highest level, but I also get, and off the top of my head, I'll probably forget some things, but like I have Apple News Plus. So I get additional feeds in my Apple News, which, I read every day. You have Apple Fitness Plus. There are also pluses onto all these little apps because there's additional paid content you get. There is Apple TV Plus comes with that. You have a subscription to that. Trying to remember all the
Music.
Apple Music, the game. What's the game one?
Arcade.
Yeah. And I'm
How
trying to
about
remember.
Apple Exercise?
Yeah, that's the fitness one. Yeah. But anyway, you get all that. Plus you get, depending on the level you picked, that amount of iCloud storage as well. So all I can speak to is for our family premium plan, I want to say it was 35 or it might be 37 a month, one of the two. But I had no choice. I had to go to that level because I needed that amount of iCloud storage.
Well, I'm paying for the max iCloud storage you can, and maybe I can do this smarter, but and I pay for Apple TV. But I'm not really interested in Apple Music or in Arcade or any of that. Peter's also paying for a minimum extra storage, and we probably should combine as a family thing because he's got a lot more music already on his computer. But maybe we're just caught in the. We've got lots of music on CDs that we can rip, and we bought a few songs, but it's.
Well, I don't know what you're paying for your extra iCloud space, but I would say you'd probably be better off switching over to that because my guess is you're probably going to get more bang for your buck doing it that way than what you're doing now. Even if you don't feel like you need some of those things, there might be some of it that you want.
Ginger, my experience, this is Lyman Johnson. My experience is that of the 6 functionalities they offer, we only use 3. I don't use fitness, I don't use games, and I've forgotten what the other one was.
Because you don't use
I
it.
I went to the 2 terabytes, and that was one of my drivers. I found when I was looking at it that if I priced those functionalities independently, that was more than I would pay if I bought the group, even though I don't use half of them. So my choice was to buy the whole thing, and I think it's about 47 a month, and not inexpensive, but it does make things a lot easier for me. I combine the storage with my wife and myself, and I just don't have to think of anything else.
Yeah, Lyman, it's 37.
37.
Yeah. Yeah, I have the same one.
They cleverly run it under the radar so you don't see it often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've my extra storage, I've got the 2 terabytes, so that's about $10 a month. And then the Apple TV, which we really don't get around to watching it as much. I thought I would just turn it off and on when I was going to binge watch something. But that's the only thing. I mean, and
Yeah.
so those two
Well,
still don't add up.
I would just urge you to take a look at it. You might find that it, works for you, and if it doesn't, but I see Don has a question there. Don.
I do. I listened to Matt Geek Gab, and they talked extensively about it. And there are so many packages that they're offering that what you might be able to do is give Apple a call and actually talk to a representative, and they may be able to create a custom package for you for the services that you want and need, which are two different things. So I would suggest give them a call, and maybe you can, get something that'll work good for you.
It's a good idea. And also, and maybe this is, I don't know how many families are in this situation. I don't know what really happens if you do a family plan. You know,
Well, it allows you to be able to share that content. So
Yeah.
back and forth among the different services you're using.
I have another question too. It looked to me like our host there had sent that invitation via messages. But there are other ways to send, and I was curious what it looked like when he sent it via messages. It was pretty obvious that it was from Apple and you and an invitation. But there's another product that I use that when it arrives in people's inboxes, if they're set up for watching out for spam and scam, um, almost reliably, it's going to get shuttled into one of those buckets, and they'll never see the birthday card that I sent to them because it doesn't say it's from me. It says it's from the company that I'm using. And there have been times when I've had to call them up and say, "Hey, look in your spam box, which you haven't looked at for the past week because you haven't read your birthday card yet." So I'm just wondering, how it's going to appear if you use other forms of data transfer as far as it's concerned.
I wish I could answer that question, but I haven't actually set up an event and used it yet. And like I said, this is just came out last month, so it's not,
Well,
real
I would
old.
take advantage of dropping and messages and email, any way you can get it to whatever friend you're going to use to test it out with.
Well, yeah, I would say just create a test event and send it to a few people and see what it looks like on their end. And, that'd be the best way to experiment with it.
Yeah, but you have control of how it's being sent.
Yeah, I know that you can choose it, you want to send it via email or text or whatever, but I don't know what that's going to look like. I mean, just other than
Right.
what he showed there. So I
it's
can't.
really good to know it exists. I appreciate you showing it. It's like Evite or one of those.
Yeah. Well, I think it's so many people. I mean, when we get invited to events, rarely anymore do we get. I mean, I think about the only thing we get an actual paper invitation in the mail is for like a wedding. Everything else for informal stuff, it's all done electronically now. So I think it totally makes sense for Apple to create something and jump in that space. All right, I'm going to keep this moving along though, just because we do have a lot of content tonight.
Apple just released.
All right. I don't know if it was in our group that this came up maybe a month or two ago. I don't remember, but in one of our recent meetings, I swear we were talking about eSIMs, and somebody was asking a question about that. And so there is, I wanted to share with you all this slide here that, if you're, looking for an eSIM plan, maybe because you're traveling, there's a great site to go search for these on. It's called eSIM DB. DB is in database. And you just search for the country or the region, and you're going to get a list of eSIM plans that'll come up. So you can see here, you could, pick one of the ones they have there. I'm going to Spain. I could click on Spain, or if I want to search by a region, or you can type in the name. And then what it's going to do is it's going to show you at the current time, what are the best eSIM plans that you can purchase, for the time you need it and the amount of data that you might need. So again, it's eSIM DB. So you might check that out if that's something you're going to be looking for.
UCMDB.
Okay, so another story that's ongoing, and I put this together this thing, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago or so, and I haven't seen a follow-up on it yet, but supposedly Apple's going to kind of change out how they do Apple Care Plus plans, and they're going to phase out like multi-year plans, because I typically know if I buy one for a device, I just buy it. I don't do like the monthly thing. And supposedly Apple's going to stop offering the option to purchase it for a multi-year plan, in their Apple stores or on the device. It said this was going to change in about a week, but I haven't heard anything else about this yet. So I would just say, and I tried looking this up just last week, and I still haven't heard anything. So if you're somebody who typically buys Apple Care Plus plans, kind of keep an eye on that, because there may be some changes in your ability of how you can purchase that. So for our friends in Texas, I thought I would add this, that Apple is opening an AI server factory. As a part of it, you might have heard they announced a $500 billion US investment. And so they're going to be opening a 250,000 square foot server manufacturing facility in the Houston area. And it's supposed to begin operation in 2026. And Apple's also saying they're planning to hire about 20,000 new employees across the US. So I saw that and I thought, oh, well, for our CapMap people, I know you're not in Houston, but I thought, well, might be of interest that I would throw that in for you guys. All right. I don't know how many of you know this about your calculator, but the calculator app for iOS, iPad OS, and Mac OS, they have a history where you can go back and look at your calculations. If you did something before, you don't have to keep redoing it. Or you might just feel really dumb if you look back at, some of the calculations that you actually had to use the calculator for. So if you open the calculator app, press on the little the dot pancake menu, whatever you want to call it, up in the top left of the screen there. And then press and hold in the top row where it says previous 7 days, and swipe up, and that'll expand your history to the full screen. And if you haven't done anything the last 7 days, it'll either say, instead of the previous 7 days, it'll just say today or for the year. And then you can see calculations. And I didn't have any, so I just started typing things in just so you guys could see what it looked like when this populated. But you can go back and you can look at that history. So especially if you're sitting there, maybe you're doing, I don't know, a bunch of accounting kind of things, and you need to see something that you did, and almost like having the old little tape come out, or a little side thing on a that kind of provides that for you. It's just not something that's there, and I don't know that people know that it actually exists. So now I thought I'd throw this in for Zoom. I don't know how many of you have discovered this. Do any of you guys use the multi-speaker view? I don't know if anybody does that or not, or if you've even discovered this. I've been using this for a number of months now, and I find it's my favorite view to use. And so I recommend this. Excuse me, GAMUG officers, I took this screenshot while we were having our officers meeting about a month ago or whenever I did this. And so I could show you what it looked like. In Zoom, if you go to the top right of your window, you're going to see a view menu, and I've got it highlighted in that box there. And by clicking this, you can change the view of how you're seeing the people in the meeting. And one of the views I think that people aren't aware of is the multi-speaker view. And I really like this because what happens is whomever is speaking at that time will pop up into a larger box at the top. So when I took this, John Connor was speaking, or was the most recent speaker, because it'll have that person up top who spoke last. And it will sometimes, if there's a conversation going on, it'll pop 2 or even 3 people in big boxes up top, and then it'll shrink the other people down below. And so I really like this because I think sometimes, especially if you've got a whole bunch of people in a Zoom call and you're not sure, you're trying to figure out who's speaking, because you know, the little gets highlighted, but sometimes I don't always see it. But this automatically shows me speaking, and then I can kind of focus on them. And so I really like that. So I recommend giving that a try. You know, do it while we're here, you know, online tonight, and see if you like that. But I really like it. All right.
Nice that it works. It works even when you're showing slides. The slides are off on one side, and you're talking, and now I'm in a big box underneath you, and everyone else is in a little box. So it's kind of an interesting view. Thanks for letting us know.
Sure. It's my favorite view now, and that's what I always have on.
You can also slide the vertical separator to wherever you want on the screen, depending upon how much of the speaker you want to see and how much of the slide you want to see, or anybody else that's in the meeting.
Yes, you can. Thank you for adding that. You can do that. There, like there's a little bar there that you can move up and down to make those bigger or smaller. All right, the next thing.
You can also see who didn't mute their phone. Dave Parnell's got some background noise.
Yeah, they do it all quite immediately. Lately, over the last year, I've heard a lot of people, and I was in a meeting with people who were talking about using the Logitech MX Master 3S mouse. So I thought I would share this little comparison with the Apple Magic Mouse. I'm not personally a mouse user myself. I just use my trackpad on my MacBook Pro, but I know there are people who use mice. So I thought I would share this with you guys, and you can see a little bit more about this.
In this video, we're going to compare the Logitech MX Master 3S to the Apple Magic Mouse. These are two fantastic mouses that are both great for using with Mac OS, but there's some major difference between both of them. So in this video, we're going to compare the pros and cons of each and the different scenarios in which I would buy the Magic Mouse and which I would choose to buy the MX Master 3S. The Magic Mouse is Apple's native wireless mouse that integrates perfectly with Mac OS, and you can control all the different functions of the mouse directly through the Mac OS system preferences. There's also no scroll wheels on the Magic Mouse, so you can do vertical and horizontal scroll both just using your finger on the top of the mouse. And so it's a really enjoyable, smooth, fluid experience using the Magic Mouse with Mac OS. The MX Master 3S is a completely different mouse experience than the Magic Mouse. It's much more ergonomic, and it's raised quite a bit to give your wrist much better positioning than when you use the Magic Mouse. You also get additional buttons on the side, a button that you can use on the top scroll wheel, as well as a button below the scroll wheel, and you also get a side scroll wheel on the side of the mouse. There's physical left and right click buttons on the top of the mouse, so there's no multi-click gesture on the top like with the Magic Mouse, but you also get a special button where your thumb rests on the side that allows you to activate some of the same gestures to switch between apps and to activate mission control, just like using the Magic Trackpad or using the Magic Mouse. So it's cool that Logitech was able to build that into the MX Master 3S. With all these additional buttons on the side and top of the mouse, you can also download the Logi Options Plus app to change what these buttons do. And it's really cool because they allow you to have both general buttons and also to change what the buttons do when they're open in a specific app like Final Cut Pro or Photoshop or Excel. So you get a lot better productivity options using the MX Master 3S than you do with the Apple Magic Mouse because there's some of those application-specific shortcuts that are easily accessible with your fingers. The way that you pair these devices is also quite a bit different. With the Magic Mouse, you pair it to your computer using a lightning cable. With the MX Master 3S, you flip the mouse over and you press the device pairing button and it starts to blink and then you're in pairing mode. You also get 3 different slots that you can store devices in. So to change from one device to the next, all you have to do is flip the mouse over and press the button, and you can go between using your computer, your tablet, and your phone, or multiple computers really easily. Another huge difference between these is the MX Master 3S uses USB-C to recharge, and the Magic Mouse uses Lightning to recharge. And unfortunately, you can't charge and use the Magic Mouse at the same time. You have to flip it over on its back like a turtle and plug it in and leave it to charge. But with the MX Master 3S, you just plug a USB-C cable into the top of the mouse and you continue to use it even while it's charging. The MX Master 3S is also a little bit more expensive than the Magic Mouse, and it's available in black, pale gray, and graphite, and the Magic Mouse is available in white and black. So the MX Master 3S gives you a more ergonomic, better for using with multi-devices setup, and the Magic Mouse gives you a device that feels a little bit more premium, and it also just integrates with Mac OS a little bit better, but at the cost of multi-device support and ergonomics. The Magic Mouse is also quite a bit smaller than the MX Master 3S if you're traveling a lot and you just want to throw it in your backpack, but Logitech also has a smaller version of the MX Master 3S that's called the MX Anywhere 3S. It's a little bit better for travel. So if you're trying to choose between these two mouses, I think there's a couple things you should consider when you're trying to decide. I would buy the Magic Mouse if you want the seamless Apple experience and you're mostly doing browsing and basic productivity work that don't require as much customization or as good of ergonomic comfort as the MX Master 3S provides. I would also buy the Magic Mouse if you want a portable mouse that goes in your backpack a little bit easier. But I would choose to buy the MX Master 3S if you want multi-device functionality, better ergonomics, customizable buttons, and a USB-C connector on the top instead of using Lightning. If you're interested in buying either of these mouses, I have links to buy both in the description below.
All right. By the way, I'm not sure if he should be saying mice or mouses. I don't know if plural mice applies to the little devices we use or not.
One thing he didn't touch on was discharge time.
No, you're right. He didn't. I can't speak to that because, like I said, I just use a trackpad. I never use a mouse for anything, so I can't. But there's a lot of people who love that Logitech mouse, and I was in a discussion online where people were talking about it, and I started looking at it more, and I thought, well, I'd like to present products to you all, so I thought I would put it out there. Also,
Logitech,
I heard about.
I'm sorry. Logitech says that the Logitech MX mouse will last 75 days. I have one, and I rarely ever charge it. In actual practice, I think it lasts a lot longer than 75 days.
Great.
Wow.
That's nice. That's good. It's a long time. Okay, I also thought I'd mention there's
a question about the Zoom. How do you show everyone in the Zoom meeting, even when there's a lot of people? Having everybody's a whole bunch of tiny. I know everybody's going to be super tiny if there's 30 people in the meeting, but what do you pick for that?
I forget what the view is called now. I'm in presentation mode, so if somebody else could.
It'd be gallery. Gallery is when you see all the boxes, and if they don't fit on a page, you have to click over and see the next page.
That's an important point, Tammy. She just mentioned gallery shows everyone, but only everyone who fits on the page, and you may have to go to multiple pages.
Yeah.
With a large group.
You have a choice between 25 people or 49 people, 5 by 5 or 7 by 7, and it depends upon the capability of your graphics card. If the host or somebody in the group is sharing, like right now, you're not going to get very big unless you use that slide bar I mentioned a moment ago, and shove the shared view over a little bit further. You might be able to see all the people. Just depends upon how many people are in the meeting and what your hardware is capable of pushing.
Okay, I'm going to continue here. I've got a couple sound apps. So if you're somebody who doesn't really like the sound coming out of your Mac, there are a couple apps that can help you to create the sound that you want. And the first app is
You
called,
realize, Glenn, you have opened yourself up to something when you say doesn't like the sound that's coming out of your Mac. There are
Hey.
opportunities there.
you know, you're free to leave anytime, Lyman. Anyway, the first one is called EQ Mac, and it allows you to set up an equalizer for every individual app on your Mac. And so you can see what this looks like here. And so, you know, you can really customize the sound. And I was thinking, wow, this doesn't, you know, my hearing is pretty good. I don't have any issues with it. I can imagine that if you're somebody who's not hearing impaired, but maybe you have troubles with lower or higher frequencies or things like that, you could really go in and you could kind of play with the sound on your Mac to get it, you know, what you want. I do a lot of music stuff, so you know, for me, that I think would be more interesting there. There is a basic plan. It is free. You're not going to get as many of the features, but you can see there a pro subscription. It's either $3 a month or $30 a year, or you can $40 for a lifetime one. And the second one out there is called Sound Source. And this is from Rogue Amoeba, which many of you are familiar with. And so it's kind of a similar thing, excuse me, you know, where you can change the app, you know, change the sound that's coming out for different things here. And there's a $45 license for that. It's also a free download. You can try it. I haven't tried out either of these, but I heard a discussion about these sound apps, and I thought, well, this is interesting. And so, you know, I thought people might, you know, be interested in this just to change how the Mac sounds, you know, for their own personal uses. All right. And let's see, I've got a little thing here. It's a tri-folding Bluetooth keyboard. So if you're looking for a Bluetooth keyboard, there's this one here that folds up, and it costs, as you can see, $52.99. And I thought it was rather clever. It just kind of folds up into that little thing, and then you unfold it, and you know, a Bluetooth ready to go. It pairs with your devices there. And so I thought, well, that's handy, especially if, you know, you're somebody who takes a keyboard on the go with you. You want a portable keyboard to use. That would be nice that it's folding up and you can more easily travel with it, throw it in a bag or whatever.
Glenn, who makes this?
This is, hold on, I think I have another page here. Wait a minute. Nope, that was the BK6. It is, I'm trying to remember now. It's iClever, I think it is. Hold on. Trying to remember. Unfortunately, it's under my controls. Can you guys see the link at the bottom there?
It said iClever at the top, Glenn.
Okay, yeah, it was
Go back
iClever.
one screen,
This was the beginning of it.
then go one more forward.
Yeah, I had said iClever on their thing. Yeah.
Upper right. Yeah.
By the way, for those of you, I know John was talking about ergonomic stuff before. The BK05 was the first one. The BK06 is the ergonomic one here that they make, and they're both folding ones. So I thought that was kind of a kind of cool little thing if you know, take a keyboard with you. And by the way, the BK06 is $39.99, so it is cheaper than the BK05, but I don't think it has this full functionality with it. And finally, just recently, the iPad turned 15. And so I don't know how many people realize that, but it was on January 27th, 2010 that Steve Jobs introduced the iPad. I had a fun little video I was going to show you here of Steve Jobs introducing it, but we've got a lot to cover here tonight, and I want to make sure that we get everything in. So I'll play like just a little snippet of this.
All of us
stop it.
Use laptops and smartphones now. Everybody uses a laptop and or a smartphone. And the question has arisen lately, is there room for a third category of device in the middle? Something that's between a laptop and a smartphone. And of course, we've pondered this question for years as well. The bar is pretty high. In order to really create a new category of devices, those devices are going to have to be far better at doing some key tasks. They're going to have to be far better at doing some really important.
All right, so I'm going to stop that there. I had planned to show that to you, but like I said, we're
sure was nice to hear his voice again. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
well, you know, whether you like Steve Jobs as a person or not, his personality, whatever, you know, he certainly was a master at presenting. And, you know, while I know some people don't like that Apple doesn't do the in-person presentations anymore, I think they've been very clever with how they've done this, but there's very few of the people I find in the presentations that I find myself just drawn to their presence and their presenting skills like Steve Jobs. So yeah, I certainly miss his presentations. He had a flair for the dramatic, that was for sure. Okay, Ron, am I going to turn it over to you to talk about a couple of the new products released?
I'm ready.
Okay.
You see the iPhone 16?
Yeah. Yep, we can see it.
This is just a brief presentation of the iPhone 16. Came out about, I think, 2-3 weeks ago. And notice that it used to be an ES, but now it's just 16E. So anyway, this is kind of a slide that just shows you all the different things that they tout or improved or sound of the thing. One thing is it has the A18 chip, which is the newest one. It enables fast and powerful experience from cleanup to remove a photobomb picture to playing a fast graphics intensive game. A16 will help the 16E feel fast for years to come, and you'll discover a huge boost in speed when upgrading from an older phone. It's 40% faster than the iPhone SE, third generation, and 80% faster than an iPhone 11. It also has a C1, which is a new chip from Apple, cellular modem. The first Apple-designed cellular modem provides fast and reliable 5G connectivity. And it's the most powerful modem ever in an iPhone. And probably in the future, we'll have C1 chips in all of our devices. Next is breakthrough battery life, combined with incredible power efficiency for all new internals. The 16E has been optimized for a larger battery. Together, it paves the way for an impressive level of battery life in a 6.1-inch iPhone. An astonishing 26 hours of video playback. When you need to charge iPhone 16, it has a USB-C. You can connect the same cable for other devices and a wide variety of accessories. It supports wireless charging too. Camera, it has a 16E. They have a custom version of our remarkable 48 megapixel fusion camera. It's a marvel engineering that combines the capability. 2 cameras on one. It allows to capture images that balances light and detail compared to older iPhones that provides up to 4 times resolution. It also has an integrated 2x telephoto, so you can zoom in with optical quality. Video looks fantastic too, with recordings in 4K and high quality audio that makes it sound as good as it looks. The front-facing camera has the same great resolution as all iPhone 16 models. Another thing is Face ID. It's easy and secure. It also allows you to authenticate purchases with Apple Pay, sign into apps, websites, and more. The privacy and security of Face ID and iOS. Together with the convenience of new Passwords app You can trust iPhone 16 to safely store your passwords. Long lasting. It's resistant to dust and water and ready to handle all kinds of situations. The 16E display is protected by ceramic shield, which is tougher than any smartphone glass. With this durable design, 16E has up to 4 times better drop performance than older iPhones. Enclosure is made bad aerospace grade aluminum. It comes in an elegant matte white or black finish. In a range of colored cases, you can easily access right from remote. Satellite services. It also has groundbreaking satellite services available in available countries and certain countries and regions. So when you don't have Wi-Fi or cellular coverage, the service and app will let you connect to satellites and send messages on to loved ones in addition to contacting first responders and updating location with Find My. It starts with 128 gigabytes from $599, and it completes the whole iPhone 16, iPhone 16, and iPhone 16 Pro, and their starting price is listed there. That's it.
Okay. Thanks for that, Ron. There was also this past week an update with the iPads as well. And so there's a new iPad Air, and I believe, I can't remember if somebody helped me out here, what number iPad they refreshed.
I think you're up to 11 now.
Is it 11? That's what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure.
Okay.
Okay, we've got something there.
I have iPad Air.
Okay.
And you call it flight speed because it is faster. It's featuring powerful M3 chip. I think the old iPad Air has an M1 or M2, but anyway, it's built for Apple Intelligence. It has available 11-inch or 13-inch models with 4 beautiful colors with a stunning liquid retina display. That's the 4 colors. M3 powers Apple Intelligence, credible performance, and advanced graphics with hardware-accelerated ray tracing. So good for games. Has an Apple Pencil Pro for next level creativity. Magic Keyboard now with 14 key function row and a larger trackpad. It has iPad OS and amazing apps that let you get things done in magic, intuitive ways, and the prices, you can see them there. They're $599 for the limited iPad Air, and then iPad Pro from $999. Again, they both cover in 13 and 11-inch sizes. That's that.
You know, I have, trying to think what year it's from now. I think 21, I believe. I've got the iPad Pro 12.9 inch with the M1 chip in it. And I don't know, do we have anybody who used the iPad Pro and then went back to using one of the other iPad models? I was just curious because, you know, the iPad Pros are pretty darn expensive. And I'm thinking, you know, next time I want to buy a new iPad, is it like really, do I really want to, you know, spend all that money to stay with the Pro model, or am I going to get enough, you know, performance out of going back to, you know, one of these models that cost less? So I was curious if anybody's done that.
I haven't gone back to, I haven't gone from a Pro to a regular model, but I got an iPad Air with an M1 in it, and I was really impressed with how fast it was. And it's good, and battery lifetime was good. Good iPad. You know, it's
dropped the price of the 10.
I'm going to wait. You know, I'm going to wait until the battery fizzles out, and I'm probably get the latest, whatever the latest Air model is. Probably in the smaller size because you know, it seems to work.
Yeah, I do a lot of drawing, note taking. I stream, you know, programs on mine. I'll play some games on there, and I've gotten so used to the bigger, you know, screen, the iPad Pro, that, you know, it's hard once you're doing the Pro models to go back, you know, down, but I'm curious if I'm going from an M1 Pro to like, say the M3 Air, if I would notice, especially with the display. I mean, as we all get older, probably our eyes need, a little help. It's like, so I'm just curious if that would make much of a difference to me.
You know what I find frustrating about the iPad? It's almost a computer. It does some things. It's great for browsing and sort of fooling around, but it just, there, if you want to do stuff, I have a nice M4 Pro Mac Mini with a 30-inch Dell screen that, is a 16 by 10, and you can't beat it. It's just you can do, especially with a ordinary, 3 button, I don't know, with a scroll wheel, antique mouse, that's got a wire. Oh my God. And, that's the thing is if you want to do computer stuff, you know, I use a computer. The iPad's fine for sitting at the kitchen table and just looking at stuff.
I agree with you that I think that, I know there was originally a push with the iPad that, oh, this is going to replace your laptop. And I have never found that to be true. I have distinctive uses for both of them that I use them for. And I don't think I could just take one of those and replace both. The other thing is, I know when we moved into our current house, I think I sold about 20 boxes of books off because my book collection was taking up a lot of room. And now everything I read is on my iPad. And so, it's like I would never want to sit at my laptop and read a book. It took me a little getting used to switching from, real books to reading, on my iPad, but it's just like they said, they're two totally different things for me.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree with you on the ebook thing. It's really convenient because if I can check it out of the library and download it and read it, and then I don't have to return it, it just goes away. I don't have to take it back to the library. So yeah.
It's also heck of a lot easier if you're traveling and you're flying. You don't have to pack books in your suitcase.
Yeah.
So especially with
also, if you wake up at night and want to read but don't want to blast your eyeballs, you can change it to the dark with light text, which is pretty nice.
Well, yeah, and you don't have to wake up anybody else if you want to read. So yeah, I agree. Ron, I kind of jumped into this. Ron, did you have anything else or were you done there? I didn't want
No, that's it.
Okay, great. we jetted off into this conversation. I want to make sure we didn't cut you off there at all. All right, so the next thing I want to do is this, believe it or not, was a holdover. It was planned for November. And we kept running out of time, and then it got pushed to December. Oh, wait a minute, we did our trivia thing in December. It got pushed to January, and anyway, here it is. So this was about something we don't really talk about a lot, but some of the updates to tvOS as well as HomePod and Home. And so I thought I would share that with you all. Like I said, this is a few months old. I mean, I don't think it's so dated that it's not relevant. And so I want to share that with you here. All right. That we're in this update that came out this fall. He talked a lot about the enhanced dialogue, and I thought I'd go back because he did that real quick. And I thought I'd show you how to actually do this. It's something that I turned on and I appreciate because so many of shows and movies now I feel like the explosions and sound effects are so big that it really minimizes the dialogue sometimes and it makes it difficult. And so I like this enhanced dialogue. I feel like it makes it sort of fit better together. So first thing is I'm going to show you here how to turn on enhanced dialogue on an Apple TV 4K, and you got to have a 4K model to be able to do this. Okay, so the first thing is you go to your settings and click on video and audio. Click on that button. And once you go into there, then click on enhanced dialogue. You'll see that, about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way down or so. The default should be off on there. So when you go there, you're going to have to go into that and you're just going to click enhance on that. Or later on, if you don't like that for whatever reason, you can just go back in there and turn it off. And if you need more enhancement than what Enhance is giving you, you can click on Enhance More. However, and I haven't tried this and I don't know, but they say that if you do this, you might lose some of the ambient audio around it, some of the background noise that is supposed to be in the show or the movie you're watching, because they are pumping the dialogue, I guess, so much that you're going to lose a little bit of that. And if you still want more dialogue enhancement, you can go back out of the video and audio menu and you can go to reduce loud sounds. And what this will do is it'll soften some of the special effects in music. So like if there's big explosions and things like that, those will be a little quieter. I find that kind of actually nice because, you know, I find some of these shows, you know, you set the TV to a volume level where, okay, this is good. I can hear the dialogue. I'm into the movie. And then all of a sudden something blows up and it's like your whole house is now shaking. You've woken everybody up in the neighborhood and you're like, oh, well, I didn't mean it to be that loud. And it really goes up and down like that. So you can play with that and that might, you know, make it so you don't get such huge differences with that stuff. And if you need further adjustments, you have one other possible helper. You can go back out in the main settings menu and select the accessibility menu. And in there, you can click on add voice isolation. Now, understand this is like the most extreme setting to enhance dialogue. And if you choose this, you're probably going to lose a lot of the other audio elements. And so you might not hear the background sounds or music or other things that, you know, you're probably going to want to hear with that. But, you know, some people might really need this feature, but that would be, like I said, sort of your last resort there. All right, I am going to escape out of this and stop. What I've got there in the rest of that little presentation is I have another little video highlighting some of the new Apple TV Plus shows this year. And so if we have time, I'll come back to that, but I really want to make sure I leave plenty of time for macOS utilities. And so we're a little slower here than where I was hoping to be in our meeting. So I want to plow ahead with that. Real quickly, are there any questions on that presentation I just did right there?
One very quick one, Glenn.
Yeah.
Do we know whether those, not enhanced dialogue, but the closed captioning, does that work only on Apple's programming, or does that work on, let's say, something you'd get from Disney or Discovery Plus or another service?
I believe it's only with Apple's programming, but I can't speak to it because I have not used that feature. So
that's my guess.
Yeah, that's my guess as well. Can anybody else speak to that?
I can speak to the fact that I don't know the answer to that, but I want to speak to the fact that the earpods that can now, the newest ones that can work as a hearing aid, for lack of a better term, is an amazing feature. I have a semi-mild hearing loss, and it mostly has to do with conversation. And putting in my earpods and listening to the TV is an amazing thing to me. And it doesn't, I don't have to set anything up. I can be anywhere. I can be doing anything and still hear what's going on. So it's something to just keep in mind.
Yeah,
I second what Nancy had to say, because my ENT doctor said that I've got some loss in one of my ears, and he said, do not go out and buy a $4,000 hearing aid. Go out and get the Apple $250 earpods,
Right.
whatever you call them. Send them in with your reading from your audiologist. They will adjust it for you, and then you can join the rest of humanity in what they're all hearing.
Yeah, they are phenomenal. I mean, it's interesting if you guys haven't tried all that.
I mean, I can spend 5% instead of $4,000.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
You can do that yourself. You don't need to send it to an audiologist to get them to do it. It's very simple, very easy to do, and you can either do it with a photograph by taking a photograph of the chart they give you, or you can enter the data manually.
Yeah. Yeah, I took the test. I mean, I didn't need any adjustments to mine, but I have, gone through the testing, the hearing test, which I talked about that. I don't know if you guys remember in one of my goodies, but it is interesting, but I found you really have to make sure you're in a very quiet place where you're not going to have interruptions, because a lot of those little beeps that they give you, you really have to have it quiet or you're going to miss a lot of them. So, okay, well, I want to keep us moving here. Like I said, I want to get to the Mac OS utilities part of things tonight. And so what I'm going to do, I put together a little presentation. I've got 14 third-party utilities I use, and I'm just going to kind of blow through these pretty quick. And then if you guys have utilities that you use that you'd like to share, we'd love to have you do that. So let me get this started here. All right. And by the way, these are, well, let me say this, because I know somebody said, well, you should explain what a utility is. Everybody might be saying, well, what constitutes a utility? And a utility is just any program that's designed to perform maintenance, management, and optimization of a computer system. So unlike applications that help you perform tasks, think word processing, email, utilities focus on, they could be maintaining the health of your system or computer. It can add usability features that don't come native to a system. And so they do things like system maintenance or security functions. When we say security functions, antivirus software, malware removal, things like that. It can monitor your system resources, like we have the utility monitor that comes native with Apple. You can see what the performance and temperature and all that stuff is. Other utilities do file management. So sometimes our computers get messy, just like our houses, and, could use some cleaning. Other utilities deal with system configuration. And so we can configure our systems to do things differently. Some utilities come pre-installed. Apple gives us a whole bunch of them that are great, like Disk Utility. But there are some really great third-party software ones out there as well that can do a lot of these things. And so you can see here, this is a current list of the Mac OS system utilities. They will be found in your utilities folder, which makes sense. And so you can get a lot out of these. And I don't know how many, if you guys use these often. There's certainly some that I use more than others. One that I tend to use, well, I use the terminal at times. I know some people are really afraid to go in and start typing commands in to do things. But if you play with it, you're not going to most likely kill your computer, but you can do some cool stuff in there with that. The Disk Utility one, of course, I've used quite a bit. Whenever we get a new device, we use the Migration Assistant one. So there's some great stuff that comes with your Mac. By the way, just a quick note, they are put in the utilities folder. Leave them there, keep them there, because that way everybody, all of your programs know where to find the utilities if they need them. And if you move them to other places, then when you want to try to use it or other programs might be relying on them, they might freak out because they can't find them. So if you need quick access, just put a shortcut on your desktop or in your menu bar rather than moving the application. All right, so like I said, I'm going to be discussing third-party apps. I've got 14 ones that, I like, and they're in alphabetical order, so it's not like some kind of ranking. I also put them in alphabetical order so that when I share the PDFs of my presentations with both groups, you're able to go back and find it because they're in alphabetical order. And the cost varies. Some of them are free, some of them cost, more, and It just kind of varies. All right, so the first one I want to share with you is called AirBuddy. And as they say, take control of your wireless devices on Mac OS. If you open up your AirPods case next to your Mac and you see the status right away, just like on your iPhone or iPad, and AirBuddy lives in your menu bar, and it can also show you battery information for stuff and more, as they say here. So when you open your AirPods next to your Mac, you're going to see this little UI come up with the headphones. It'll say your headphones, and it'll say, click here to activate. And then you can also, like I said, your Mac bar, it can give you some information, but it basically allows you to have a little more control over your headphones in there. And so I've been using that for a few years now, and I like it. It's not too expensive. It costs $12.99. The second one here is called Almighty. And Almighty is really a collection of utilities. As they say here, over 50 cool Mac tweaks and extra utilities to supercharge your Mac experience. Your Mac is packing in many secret tricks you probably didn't even know existed, becoming Mac power user easily with Almighty. Now, if you are a SetApp user, it comes as a part of that. Otherwise, it costs $19.99. And I've got just this.
Meet Almighty, the ultimate tool to tweak your Mac easily. Enjoy not just 10, 20, 30, but 50 plus tweaks and shortcuts to enhance your Mac experience. Starting from the dock to the system, Finder, menu bar, and more. Hide and show your desktop items with a click. Highlight active window with a click. Extract text from any video or images and copy it to your clipboard. View all application shortcuts at once. Visualize cursor and visualize keystrokes for easy presentations. Almighty is not just an app, it is a complete workflow. Download Almighty now from App Store and SetApp.
All right, so Almighty, like I said, it does a lot of different things in there, which is pretty cool.
Meet all.
Okay, my next one is called Barbie. So I, for a while, used Bartender to take control of my menu bar and to add some functionality to it. Well, some of you are probably familiar with Bartender, but it was bought out by another company that people worried was a little less than reputable. And so I wasn't totally trusting the security of that, so I got rid of it. And as a replacement, I came across Barbie. And basically, it's a menu bar utility. And so basically, it'll give you extra room on your menu bar. So you can choose to put things sitting up on your menu bar, but then you notice here the little the icon, when you click on it, like there's a little menu below that, and now it shows you more of these things. And if you're using any of those, once you click those pop up on the menu bar so that you don't have to hold that open. You can see them. I really like using menu bar utility. I've been using one now for a few years. And so like when I don't have one installed, I don't know, I just feel like some usability of my computer is missing. And so like I said, I used Bartender before. There's Barbie. There's another one, like I want to say it's like Ice or Icy or something like that. I don't remember now. But anyway, you know, it's a free app to use, and so give it a try. See if you like having that functionality.
Very quick question, Glenn, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Since they said that there's no customer support is limited,
Yeah.
have you found a need to get get support for the program? And if so, were you able to get it?
No, I haven't found the need, but I'm sure you just probably jinxed me on that. As soon as I say that, I'll probably have a problem. And, if that's the case, usually I can, you can email the company. And frankly, I find when I have a problem with a lot of these third-party apps, when I email people, they, are usually pretty quick to get back to me. All right, the next one, I'm guessing a lot of you probably already know Clean My Mac. And this one, as they say here, set your Mac free from clutter with Clean My Mac. This all-in-one Mac cleaner and maintenance app handles junk, duplicates, malware, and performance issues, making your Mac extra efficient and impeccably clean. To me, this is a must-have utility to keep my system running at, optimal levels. I've got it loaded on all the Macs in our family. There is also an iPhone version, but I have never... I kind of downloaded it and looked at it, but I didn't keep it. I haven't used that. So there is a cost to it, and you can see here the plan, for 1, 2, or 5 Macs there. And so this is one that it costs money. I run it once a week on my Mac. It will clean up and reclaim space on my Mac. It will automatically go and look at apps that need updating and update it for me. It'll search for malware. It just does a lot of the maintenance on my computer that I find very useful to keep things running smoothly.
Does your digital space feel like home? Or is something waiting to mess with your peace? Buckle up. Meet Clean My Mac, a smart app for Mac Care by MacPaw. Smart Care is your 5-step Mac optimization formula. Boost performance, check for malware, and reclaim space. No more lurking threats. Moonlock's anti-malware engine has your back. Scan and remove viruses in a click. Then move on to My Clutter. Sort through, delete duplicates and similars piling up. This outgrown system mess just disappears with cleanup. Do you feel the breeze of performance? There's now space for updates. The application tool lets you update and uninstall apps with their leftovers. Want to speed things up a bit? The Performance tab keeps your Mac fresh, even when everything seems okay. But battery drains and overheating are not okay. The assistant keeps a constant watch and gives you quick fixes. Finally, Clean My Mac's menu app shows you timely health updates on your digital home. Get tidy with the all-new Clean My Mac.
All right.
Does your
another clean named app, CleanShot X. It's basically it's a screen capturing tool, and they've got a lot of different features. And I know you can say, well, I can just hit a, key command combination on my computer and do that. But there are some really cool features, even though it does cost $29 for this. And I'll show you, this little short video shows you.
Say hello to CleanShot X, the ultimate screen capturing tool. Let's see how you can use CleanShot to have a more organized and efficient workflow. When you take a screenshot, a smart overlay will pop up in the corner of your screen. Here you can quickly decide what to do with your screenshot. First, we'll add some annotations. The Annotate tool has been reworked from the ground up to make editing your screenshot a breeze. Choose from lots of high-quality tools and create beautiful screenshots in no time. When you're done, sharing your work is as easy as drag and drop. With CleanShot X, we're introducing CleanShot Cloud. Upload your screenshot to our cloud and immediately get a link ready to share. Need to capture something that doesn't fit on your screen, like a bunch of code or a chat window? Our scrolling capture was built just for that. But that's not all. CleanShot is also a screen recorder. Record your screen in a few clicks and save it as a video or a GIF. Ever had a video ruined because of a pesky notification? Worry no more, because CleanShot can automatically mute notifications while you record your screen. Trim the video right inside the app to make it even more perfect. Sometimes your desktop can get a little messy. Luckily, CleanShot can hide desktop icons for you and set up a custom wallpaper for flawless screenshots and recordings. Now your little mess stays between you and your Mac. Speaking of flawless, see how smooth it is to create a beautiful screenshot of a single window. It never looked better. Maybe you want to keep a screenshot on your screen for a while. Just click on the pin icon, and that's it. It will float above all windows. With hundreds of options available, you can customize nearly everything and tailor CleanShot exactly to your needs. CleanShot X is not just an app. It's a complete workflow. And like thousands of our users, I'm sure you will love it.
Okay, the next one here is called Dropover. And by the way, I hope you're noticing that I've got links to all these. So when I do share later on the PDF for this, or if you go back and watch the video of this, you can see that link to be able to access all of these. Dropover is a drag and drop utility that makes it simple to collect, organize, share, and process files with floating shelves. It adds advanced drag and drop function for macOS users. It can be used to stash, gather, and move any draggable content without needing to open side-by-side windows. Dropover is designed for the modern user who works on multiple screens and is a great tool for both content creators and developers. Dropover is free to download, and it comes with a 14-day trial period, and they give you all the functions. But after the trial, you can continue using Dropover, but they give you like a 3-second wait before you interact with your shelf. Or you can upgrade to Dropover Pro for a one-time purchase. It's a fee of $6.99. And I've just got these little snippets here. You can see, so you just highlight that, and then you have a little shelf that you drop it into, and you can take things from different windows and then move them to where you want. And the second one here, that's a little window or a little shelf you have of those things in there. And they call them shelves, but you can move things from one shelf to another to store them in. And like I said, you can go to totally different applications and move things to shelves. And so then when you go back to access these shelves, then you can take these things and move them to wherever you want. It's just so much nicer than what you can natively do in Mac OS with having to move windows around. Oh, come on, makes me go through those. Okay, Energizer Pro is an app I've been using for a while now. As it says, take control of your battery charging. Why is Energizer Pro a good idea? Your MacBook's battery has a limited lifespan. One reason the battery wears out is it is constantly charged to high states when the MacBook is plugged in for an extended period. With Energizer Pro, you can take control of battery charging. It allows you to set individual charging limits and prevent high states of charge. In addition, instead of instantly beginning to charge once your MacBook is connected to external power, you can specify a lower charging limit. Once the battery level drops below this limit, the battery will be charged again. Your battery will most likely thank you with a longer lifespan. And so it allows you a lot more control over your battery. I think I've got my lower limit right now set at like 30%. So even if I'm plugged in, it won't start charging. Now, I can tell it to charge it to full right now or charge it to my upper limit, which I've got set at 80%. But if I don't tell that, it won't charge. And then when I'm down to 30, it says, oh, that's your lower limit. Now I'm going to charge you up to what your upper limit is. So it works pretty well. Wait a minute. I did a clean shot. Didn't I do clean shot already?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, somehow this got in here twice. I don't know
Okay,
why.
well, that's good because I was going to ask you what the price of that was, and now you just told us, so thank you.
Oh, there you go. All right. Thing. Thing is good for monitoring your network. And so what it does is it's basically it catalogs the different network stuff going on, and it will, like, if I take my laptop, like my home network, it'll tell me what's going on. It'll give me all my stats on my network and what's, connected to it. But what's cool is I'll tell it this is home. And then if I take my laptop and let's say I go to my local Starbucks that I go to a lot. And then the first time I told it, yeah, I'm at Starbucks here, it'll know what that network is also. So it can kind of keep track of all your networking stuff, and you can see what's going on with your network at any given time. It is, there is a free one here, but again, with everything, as you move up in price, you get more features on this. Okay, the next one I have here is called Folder Peek. Kind of an interesting icon. I don't know if you guys have been noticing, I've been putting all the icons up there just so that way if you go out hunting for it, you can recognize the icon. It's an app that puts a folder in your menu bar to allow you easy access to apps or other folders. And so I thought this is really cool because I love to have as much as I can at my fingertips without having to go opening my applications folder, whatever. Like my dock is crazy with apps that I use. Like people are like, oh my God, I can't believe how many apps you have there. And so I love having this up on my menu bar. And as you can see here, you can go up and click there. On the right side, you can just use it like as an app launcher, and you just click on the app you want. You can also see there on the left-hand picture that you can set up folders in there so that I can have a folder and I can put some things in there that I want. And it's just a quick access to find things. So I really like that. Our next one is called ItsyCal. And God, I've been using ItsyCal for, man, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years now, maybe. And I know that I've got my calendar app down on my menu bar that I can go to, but this just sits up on in my dock on my menu bar. And it's a little simple app, and you just click it and you can see there when you click it, it just downloads a handy little calendar. Excuse me. And then I don't have to go get my calendar app out. I mean, when I want to see more things and put stuff in, then I use my calendar app. But this is just nice for quick glances, and it's pretty customizable. So and it's free, so you gotta love that. And it's just like I said, it just sits there on your menu bar. Okay, NetSpot. NetSpot is another networking app. The cool thing about this one, well, the bad thing when we start off with is it's not free. As you can see, the home, the lowest version is $59, so it's not cheap. But what's really cool is it's allows you to basically do a site survey. And I love this feature. That's why I showed you this screen here. You can see like you would go around your house, and it would have you like literally make a map of your house, and you can go around and see a heat map of, well, where is, my Wi-Fi getting, better, where am I getting better access to my Wi-Fi and not so good access. So it can really help you to figure out where to put routers and things like that. So it's a pretty cool app. I'll show you.
Welcome to NetSpot, your key to successful Wi-Fi optimization. Let's dive into NetSpot's 3 major feature sets. The first one is the Inspector. It allows you to perform a detailed analysis of the surrounding Wi-Fi networks. You can discover the Wi-Fi networks around you and use their information to easily identify the least loaded channel, determine the Wi-Fi signal level. NetSpot will conveniently lay out the network's names and information, like SSID, BSSID, signal strength, frequency bands, and more. You will appreciate the interface responsiveness with an easy switch between the table and chart views, data filters by a variety of parameters, as well as the export of gathered data to CSV format. The second feature is Wi-Fi Site Survey. When working on a Wi-Fi network that will provide optimal coverage, you'll need solid research and understanding of the radio frequency behavior at the spot. Upload the floor plan and start scanning. Click on the map where it corresponds to your actual location. The more measurements you take, the more accurate the results will be. Once you're done, click on the Heat Maps button. After completing the scan, you can get over 20 types of detailed heat maps showcasing the Wi-Fi signal strength throughout the area. This will allow you to easily pinpoint weak signal zones, interference spots, as well as the areas with optimal connection. And finally, let's have a look at Wi-Fi planning, which, you guessed it, allows you to plan your future Wi-Fi network with utmost precision. Here you get to create a layout of your surveyed site, complemented with the structural components like walls, doors, windows, and their materials. After all building elements have been placed and their properties set, click Continue. Place the routers around the surveyed space. Add your router where you think fit, and select a router brand and model from a pop-up menu. Specify router's desired settings. After you are done arranging the routers, click on the Heat Maps button. This allows generating visually comprehensive Wi-Fi heat maps of future Wi-Fi coverage, considering all potential signal obstructions. NetSpot offers a unique opportunity to visually explore a variety of setup options with numerous parameters in consideration, giving you a preliminary idea of your future wireless network. NetSpot, a comprehensive solution for your Wi-Fi network. Welcome to NetSpot.
All right, so that NetSpot one, like I said, it's not cheap, but it's a really cool app.
One thing you might want to think about is another app that I've been using for years called Wi-Fi Explorer.
Yeah,
it's in the App Store for $20, and I've used that. Yeah, it doesn't have all these features, but it's pretty good, and it shows you what's going on around, and
yeah,
it's helpful.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Okay, my next one is SIP. I use SIP. It's a menu bar app that allows you to select the color on your screen so that you can match the color. And then from your picks, it'll allow you to create color palettes. I do graphic design work. So for me, color is a big thing. And sometimes I'm trying to figure out what is that color that I want to use. And when it sits up there, I just have my color picker, and then you can see, on the right-hand side there, that picture with the little circle, and you move it and it will identify what that is. And then, like I said, it will make palettes for you. I mean, it's free, and then you can try it out, and you get a 10-day trial, and then it's $20. And so if you do any stuff with color, it's a cool little app. And Peter, there you go, Wi-Fi Explorer. That's what he was talking about. And it's another networking thing to troubleshoot your networks and get information on them. I have actually all three of these, network things that I use. It's probably overkill, but I really like them all. Again, this is one of those that comes with as a part of SetApp, or it's $19.99 by itself. And this is the one that Peter just said he's used for years and really likes. All right, there you go. So those are my 14 utilities that I use that I wanted to present to you all. And, I feel like I get something from all of them. Some are a little more vital than others. I mean, for instance, Clean My Mac. To me, that's like a vital thing for me that I use, and I do a whole system clean once a week. Some of these others I use off and on, but they all add a lot of functionality to my Mac. And frankly, I can't imagine using my system without them. And some of these I've been using for a number of years now. So like I said, I will share the PDF of the slideshow so that you all can go back, and if there's some of those you're interested in, you can look up for yourselves. So what I'd like to do now, we've got about 15 minutes left. I would love to open it up. And if there's an app that you use, a third-party utility app, I would love for you all to share it with us.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the InstaCal, does it sync with your regular Mac calendar?
Yes, it does. It didn't used to, but it does now, and that's fantastic. I don't know if you could see in there the little events on the calendar when I showed it to you. those are drawing right from my Apple Calendar. So it's just like I said, it's a nice little thing, just a quick little glance there, and I don't have to go into my calendar when I don't want to. Okay, so who's got one they'd like to share? Or Don, do you have a question? Or you want to share one?
I'd like to share one.
Okay.
Let me fix my audio here. I have one that's called Reorder It. And can I share screen now?
Go ahead. Should be able to.
Okay. So I've got one that's called Reorder It. If you look it up online, you'll find out it's Reorder Contacts, and it's an iPhone app. Okay. And if we go over to it and find out about it, you'll see what it's doing. Say, for example, you are trying to contact one of your friends who is a pretty busy person and is into all kinds of things. And so he's got several phone numbers and several email addresses, and you never know what's what. But every time you use your app to contact this person, like messages, you'll type his name in. Oh, Dan. Yeah, there's Dan. Click on Dan and send the message. Well, Dan never got it. Okay. So what I come up with is a slightly different deal. This Reorder It. I don't recall having to pay for it, but even if I did, it was maybe $1.99 or somewhere like that. Anyway, let me switch over to a different share here, and we're going to do this one.
So Donna, is the problem that this solves that sometimes the computer offers up a method of contacting someone that isn't the optimum method, and then you can kind of say, no, always use this number.
Exactly, and that's what I'm going to show you. So in my utilities over here on the right-hand side in the middle, there's utilities and there's Reorder It. And this hooks in directly to your contacts, okay? And it is an iPhone thing, but handy dandy thing they've got called the iCloud. When you do it here and fix your contacts app on your phone, son of a gun, it goes over to your desktop. So gee whiz, it's really great.
Press a video to make it smaller or to change its screen, its resolution if you want downsample it for purposes of making it smaller or whatever. It's free app. Handbrake.fr is where you can download it from.
Yep.
And I'm going to second Terry's mentioning this, what a great app it is. In fact, all the videos that I put in my presentations, I always use Handbrake to take them and reduce the size of those so that they're much more manageable. I agree, Terry, it's a great app.
Handbrake uses FFmpeg, a software library under the cover. It's a well-known video encoding open source project.
Yeah, that's and Handbrake's been around for quite a while now. It's a great app.
I think it's mostly a UI on top of FFmpeg, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you're right. I would agree.
It was just recently updated too, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jim. Okay, who's got another one they would like to share? Here's where I need the cricket sound effect.
I'll say I think a lot of us use a carbon copy cloner.
Yeah.
Backups. And it's a superb program.
Why don't you, Jim, for those who don't use it, why don't you tell them what it is?
Well, yeah, say it's pretty much the name is pretty much the description of what it does. It'll you can make a complete clone of your hard drive, bit for bit clone. One thing that Apple, with the advent of the Apple file system and their new security chips, it's a little more difficult to make a bootable backup. But you could certainly make a complete backup of all your content, aside from the OS. but your apps and your photos, your documents, all that. And I use it along with time machine.
Yeah, it's a well-known app. A lot of people use it, although I thought for a while there was a little issue with it or something, and I don't know, it's because of some of the Apple updates, and then maybe had to catch up or something.
Because Apple went from HFS Plus to the Apple File System.
Yeah, I think that's when it was. Yeah.
Also, their security implementation, it makes it very difficult to boot from an external device anymore.
Yeah. John Connor, I see you put something in the chat there. Can you tell us about that?
I just heard about this on Mac Break Weekly, which, by the way, I made a typo. It's MACBREAK. It's by John Siracusa. It is an app that was recommended by Jason Snell in the last or the next to last episode of that podcast, in which he claims to have he used the program and it takes duplicates John Syracuse gets way into the weeds in the technical programming things way more than I can. But essentially, it will find duplicates, not just things like duplicate pictures that everybody's kind of knows about, but duplicates of things that are, I don't know, kind of back office related. Find them, and again, subject to some of the similar limitations that we were talking about with Carbon Copy Cloner, will safely delete these unneeded duplicates. It's a risky undertaking, but he's got it down, and there doesn't seem to be any difficulties. And I think it was claimed that one person had used this and had found that they were able to reclaim. I think the amount of space that they were using up on their SSD was cut by about half without losing anything. And it was an amazing job of finding duplicates and freeing up space for you to use for whatever. Until a year from now you make more duplicates. And I again, all I had time to do was just to put the link on there to John Syracuse's website so you can go read about the program.
Okay.
There is a free version of it. There are also paid versions of it. I don't remember what they cost. But if anybody is running into storage problems, especially, if you've got a smaller, maybe a 256 gig SSD and you wish you had gotten a bigger one or something, this one might be worth looking at.
And I'm making a list every time someone brings these up. So when I share my presentation, I'm also going to put a list here of these as well so that everybody can go back and look at all these. We got a few minutes left here.
I have a question, actually. I was just looking through my folder here, and I found my apps folder, and I found a bunch of stuff. Like I found a thing called iTerm2 that apparently I used on some occasion to basically, it does more stuff than the ordinary terminal does. It's got a bunch of extra features, and I guess I kept it around because it was useful. Another one is the old Apple Network utility, and somewhere I found a way. This thing is still buried down in the guts of the OS, and there's a way apparently where you can extract it or move it into your apps folder. And so I have a copy that I stuck in my apps folder because I find the network utility really useful, but Apple's decided, hey, it's stupid. You shouldn't. For example, let me bring it up here. Oh, you don't need to do stuff like a whois or a ping of a site or a lookup or a trace route. In other words, it'll show you how long it takes to get to a website or whatever, and that kind of thing. And I find I used it all the time. It's very handy when you're trying to figure out why a website or some other, you have some network related issue. It's a very handy tool.
I think this falls in the category they just don't build things like they used to.
Well, yeah, and I don't now. The question is, I don't know whether this is an Intel code-based app, and when Rosetta 2, when they decide to pull that out of the current Apple Silicon product, and it'll stop working. But that's fine. I mean, then I'll. But and also, does anybody know if there's an equivalent? Because
there's a company called Devon Technologies.
DEVON.
DEVON Technologies. That basically, I think they have it's basically a front end, for the network utility.
Oh, well, that's good.
I think, as I recall, it was free, and I saw it a short while back and downloaded it.
And it's Devon Technology.
Yeah, DEVON
Uh-huh.
technology.com.
And what's the name of the product?
Network utility.
Oh, great. Well, that's pretty straightforward. No, that's
Yeah.
the thing is I'm really surprised somebody didn't, or why didn't Apple just say, here, or just recompile it and just put it out on the App Store, in Apple. So, and I had a program that I used all the time that ran these little radios, Radio Shark from Griffin Technology, and Griffin quit supporting it like years ago. And this guy up in Canada wrote a really elegant little app that just started the radio and you could tune it, and that's all it did. It didn't do the recording and all the other stuff. And I asked him to recompile it for Apple Silicon, and he said, "Well, here, I'll just give you the code." So I recompiled it, and it's got a couple little minor graphical issues, but it works fine. Now, the trouble is, I would just release it to the world, but the trouble is, it embeds because I'm not a fully fledged applications designer. I'm just some retired engineer that hacked this thing to work, and I get compiler complaints and stuff, but it works. And it embedded my email address into it, so I hesitate to just throw it out in the world for free, right? And so I don't know. I don't know. I guess I need to work around that somehow because there's all these Radio Sharks around here, and it's a great little FM radio. And anyway, so, but I don't know why, I don't know why it's not easier to do this kind of thing where, people just, if they're not going to support it, just donate the code and let somebody else make it into a product, a public product.
I've thought about that before. There's some great things that people quit making or felt like they just couldn't keep up with it, or
Yeah.
the demand for updates and things like that. And it's like, it's a shame because it's such a great program.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Unfortunately, there's some bad guys out there that aren't certified either.
Yeah.
Well,
I want to make sure before we wrap tonight, I want to make sure we get to anybody who might want to have a utility that I want to share here. I know we're creeping after 9 here, but is there anybody, I don't want to leave anybody out. So I want to make sure everybody gets a chance here.
There's just one other thing I'd mention. If people aren't aware of it, if you have a copy of Skype and you actually have credit, which I do, I have about $20 of credit because it's great if you're calling overseas to arrange hotels or whatever.
Good.
They're going to discontinue support for this on May 5th. And I'm trying to think of a polite word, but they're a bunch of a-holes. They could support this till the end of time. They bought the product, they made it into a bloated mess, and now they're going to kill it. And you can use the cool Teams program, which I have absolutely no interest in. And I don't even know if you can dial out of
Teams. Big discussion of that earlier. I guess you weren't on here yet.
No, I missed that. Yeah. Yeah. I loathe Microsoft with every fiber of my being, but yeah, that's a whole different presentation.
You ain't alone, brother.
Does anybody else have a utility they'd like to share with us?
There was a question, Tammy and Terry. Somebody wanted to know, how do you see 25 or 49 people on the screen? And I'm not, it seems like if you put it on gallery, you get the most little boxes of people. And if somebody is sharing a presentation, you have to squish that to leave more real estate on the screen to see the people. And somebody said you get 25 or 49 depending on how powerful your computer capability is.
Actually, somebody said if you move your mouse to the bottom of Zoom, and you go to where you control your video camera, or you turn on your off camera, go on the arrow, and then if you go to video settings, then you scroll all the way down to the bottom of your video settings. There's a choice for 25 or 49 participants. However, if there's a presentation at the moment, then it seems to be more squished.
Well, thank you. You answered your own question, and I thought nobody had replied yet. But now I learned something. I didn't know you could actually select it.
I thought somebody
I faced the crowd with shame because I'm the one that did that, and I did it back to them instead of everybody, and I apologize. But apparently tried it and found it, and it works great. And of course, anytime there's a shared screen, you're going to get squished out of the way and make room for the shared screen.
Unless you make it littler, you can make the shared screen small.
Yeah, and
and you can also, when somebody goes to a share screen, you can, if you hit your escape key, you'll go out of that, and then you can make it smaller. So then you're not stuck just with that. You can manage who you're seeing, or if you need to do something else while they're sharing their screen, you can do that as well.
There's so many tips that have been talked about. I feel like my brain is going to explode.
Sorry about that, Ginger.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
I will say this. I feel like tonight was pretty content heavy, and I had all this stuff going on, and I know the thing from November, I kept saying, well, we're going to get to this eventually. And my gosh, we're going to get this thing in if it kills me. And the funny thing is, I didn't even include the last part because I've got about a 9 or 10 minute video where the guy goes over Apple TV Plus shows and stuff. So, that might, people might find that they wanted to see. So, but well, hopefully it wasn't too much information for you all tonight. Like I said, I always share PDFs of my presentation. So if there's stuff that, you kind of got and you missed a little of it, you can go back, and I try to put links in there whenever I have videos of things so that you can go out and find those videos as well. Of course, we also record, this stuff, and then you can go back and take a look at it as well. Like I said, those little utilities that some of you mentioned here, I'll try to put in a list with my PDF as well, so those will be included.
Who did the recording?
Ron,
I did.
Well, I believe Ron is recording, and then
I'm trying to. We'll see, but we'll either link to their recording or we'll have our own. But either way, it'll be on our website.
Thank you,
Glenn.
Yes.
Where do you've talked several times about putting stuff somewhere, but you never talk about where it is.
What did I mention?
It's on GAMUG's website.
He gives the links to his PDFs and stuff to like me and to his people, and I normally put links that he gives me to the bottom of our the link to the video on our web page under resources.
Yeah.
So that's usually where you can find the PDFs that he forwards.
Thank you.
Once he sends them to me.
Well, I know as we start to wrap here tonight, I just, want to say to everybody from both groups, I think it's great when we're able to do some collaboration like this. I think it brings a nice dynamic. Both of our groups have had, a long history of doing things. And I think when we kind of come together like this, one, I enjoy the meetings where we get more people here, but I also enjoy that, we get some different perspectives on things that we may not get at our normal meetings. And so I think it hopefully brings something to both of our groups.
I'll second that.
So I also love, let me say this, Cat Mac, I love that you guys are able to get so many guest speakers, because that's something that, it's harder for us to do. So we love when you guys have guest speakers. That's great.
It's a skill.
I also think you guys live in a community that is a much bigger tech community than what we live in. So probably that lends a lot to that.
Well, I think Nathan goes national when he does it.
I had, really done some searching, and I've gotten a few people in, but I found it harder. And as the group has shrunk, I felt a little more sort of self-conscious, I guess, about trying to go find people. And then, if they come to us, it's not like they're appearing before a crowd of 100 people or something, and, feeling like, oh, well, it's just going to be ridiculous. So,
Zoom makes it easy, to get a group of people together and to bring in speakers.
Yeah, for sure.
And even tonight, we had people in the St. Louis area, the Austin area, your father in Costa Rica, and Nancy in Scotland.
Yeah, yeah, we've gone worldwide tonight.
And we have 2 Apple campuses here.
which brings in an awful lot of techies. And our history, we've had a lot of these speakers before, so they've been here before, and they kind of like us.
Yeah, well, that helps. That really makes a difference. And so we love to be a part of that. So we appreciate you when you guys include us in that, because it's always nice to be able to, I enjoy presenting. I hope I do a good job for you all, but I'm sure at some point people say, I'm sick and tired of listening to Glenn House talk. So, it's nice to have some outside speakers that bring fresh perspectives and voices to everything. So, all right. Well, I guess we'll call this one a wrap unless anybody else has anything they need to add before we go.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and we'll see everybody soon.
Yeah, Glenn, send me your PDFs and stuff.
Yeah.
I will do that for both of you guys.
Thanks.
All right. Bye, guys.
Well, thanks.